Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Start with the name of Allah, the most beneficent and the most merciful. All your students, today our topic is adrenergic agonist. So you have remembered in previous lecture we have already discussed about the different drugs which are used in the treatment of asthma. And as we know that there are different drugs which are used in the treatment of respiratory disorders. Okay, so let's come to the main topic, that is adrenergic agonist. Now, what are adrenergic agonists? So adrenergic agonists are those drugs are those agents that can stimulate the response from the adrenergic receptors. And in other words, adrenergic agonist drug may be agonist or it may be antagonist. Adrenergic agonists are those drugs that bind to and activate the adrenergic receptors. Specifically, these adrenergic agonists, these are the medications which are used to treat some symptomatic neurogenic orthostatic hypertensions caused by dopamine beta hydroxylase deficiency in non-diabetic autonomic neuropathy and primary autonomic failure caused by a condition like cancer disease. Simple, these drugs, there are five main categories of adrenergic receptor. The first one is alpha 1, alpha 2, beta 1, beta 2 and beta 3, and then these receptors, they are distributed throughout the body. So there is no need to confuse an adrenergic agonist. I have already explained about the adrenergic receptor and the CNS pharmacology, so you can read out and you can listen my previous lectures. Adrenergic agonist, actually they are also relief some condition like quick relief can be given to the patients. These are the adverse effects which are reported after administration of adrenergic agonist. So adrenergic agonist, there may be chances of tachycardia, increase in heart rate, hyperglycemia, increase in glucose level in the blood, hypokalemia, decrease the potassium level in the blood, and hypomagnesemia, while sometimes there is also chances of decrease magnesium level in the blood. So actually they are minimized with delivery via inhalations. Those drugs which are given to the patient through inhalatory route, so the chances of ADR, adverse drug effects, which are reported after administration of adrenergic agonist, so these chances will be minimized. All the patient with asthma should be prescribed as a quick relief inhaler and regularly assessed for appropriate inhaler technique. Adrenergic agonist and long-term controls. The long-acting beta-2 agonist, that is called long-acting beta adrenergic drugs, that is salmeterol and formoterol. Salmeterol and formoterol actually the long-term control, the long-acting beta-2 agonist, that is called long-acting beta agonist, that is salmeterols and formoterols. So it can provide the bronchodilation for at least 12 hours. As we know that, especially in case of respiratory disorders, and any respiratory disorders, bronchoconstriction is occur, especially in lungs, and that's why our main aim is to provide certain medications to cause bronchodilatations. Adrenergic agonists have slower onset of action and shouldn't be used for quick relief of an acute asthma attack. use of long-acting beta-adrenergic receptors they are contraindicated in asthma. So long-acting beta-adrenergic drugs, so they cannot be used especially in asthmatic conditions. Whenever, especially in a single ingredient long-acting beta-adrenergic receptors should be used in a combination with an asthmatic controller medications. So this is very important, and while the inhaled corticosteroids remain the long-term control drug of choice in asthma. So this is one of the best option. So if you remember, whenever a person is suffering from asthma, so the physicians they always prefer the inhaled corticosteroids or those drugs which can be taken through inhalatory route. Corticosteroid, this is another class we have already discussed in detail in my previous lectures. So corticosteroids actually especially the inhaled corticosteroids are the drug of choice in the patient with any degree of persistent asthma. Let's suppose if a person who has a problem of asthma but there is persistence, and so especially in that condition the inhaled corticosteroid they are preferred, and these are the drug of first choice in patient with any degree of persistent asthma. And severe persistent asthma may require the addition of a short course of oral glucocorticoid treatment. No other medications as effective as inhaled corticosteroids in the long-term control of asthma. To be effective in controlling the inflammation, glucocorticoid must be taken orally on regular basis. Corticosteroids, the current guidelines recommended selecting the inhaled corticosteroid therapy for a newly diagnosed patient with asthma. Patients achieving almost 3 to 6 consecutive methods of improved asthma control may be considered for a reductions in the inhaled corticosteroids therapy. Corticosteroids, its direct action on the lungs, ICS inhaled corticosteroid therapy, they can directly target the underlying airway inflammations by decreasing the inflammatory cascades like eosinophil, macrophages, and T lymphocytes. Another action of corticosteroids, they are also responsible for reversing the mucosal edema, as well as it cause decreasing the permeability of capillaries, and it can also inhibit the release of leukotrienes. And after several months of regular use, the inhaled corticosteroid reduce the hyperresponsiveness of the airway smooth muscles to a variety of the bronchoconstrictor stimuli such as allergens, irritants, cold air, and exercise. Corticosteroids can be now come toward the route of administration, through which route corticosteroids can be administered to the patient. So it can be administered to the patients in the form of inhalations, in the form it can be given to the patients in oral form as well as in spacers.